What's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Just United, and we're back for another one, a match review of the FC Twente game, which Manchester United drew 1-1 at Old Trafford in the pouring rain for our Europa League season opener. With special thanks to Christian Eriksen for the goal and the assist for FC Twente. Now, for today's video, there's a few things I want to get into, but we're going to start with the positives. We'll get into the negatives a little bit later, but let's start with the positives. I want to talk about how we started the game, and you could see from the get-go how Erik ten Hag wanted to play and what he was trying to do, what his intent was for that game. He started with a back three of Lisandro Martinez, Harry Maguire, and Mazraoui, with Dalot dropping into midfield. And for most parts of the game, I thought this worked very well. You know, Dalot dropping into midfield allowed other players like Christian Eriksen and Bruno to find space and potentially play line-cutting passes to our attackers. And, you know, FC Twente did not know what to do with Dalot moving into midfield. They didn't know how to handle it for most parts of the game. And, you know, another midfielder who was alongside Dalot, Manuel Ugarte, who made his first start for us in the European competition, and I thought he played quite well. His passes were neat and tidy. He played the ball off nicely to Christian Eriksen or Bruno when he needed to. He was putting himself about across the pitch and making tackles when he needed to. And yeah, I don't think he put a foot wrong in the game. A few times I thought his passing could have been a little bit better, but you know, it was his first game. He's still trying to find his feet at the club, and it was better than I expected him to be by himself, playing that CDM role, you know, with Christian Eriksen and Bruno running off higher up the pitch. I thought we controlled the game for most parts. Eriksen getting the goal just before half time, you know, with a brilliant effort on goal. And you think to yourself, from then on in the second half, you've got to put the game to bed, kill the game off. But we dropped off. We fell back into first gear, and, you know, we were again found ourselves in the same position, strolling through the game. There was moments where, you know, we could have been a little bit more careful with the ball. I know the pitch was wet, and, you know, it was slick when you were passing the ball, so everybody's first touch had to be good. But yeah, I thought we could have done a lot more in that game for the chances that we created, especially in the second half. Going in at halftime, 1-0 up at Old Trafford, you've got to take the game by the scruff of the neck. You can't let up in these competitions. And tactically, FC Twente were really good. They set up well, and, you know, they adjusted to Dalot being in midfield in the second half. Yes, they didn't score to the 68th minute, and that was majorly due to our players diving in and, you know, Eriksen turning into their player. I can't forgive the fact that their right back, I mentioned it in the match preview before the game, that they like to play with their wing backs and they like to play with their defenders pushing up further up the pitch. And it was evident for their goal. Their right back ran through 4 or 5 of our players. And, you know, if they just stood on their feet and defended as a team, instead of, you know, diving in Harry Maguire, Lisandro Martinez, they could have easily dealt with that situation. Christian Eriksen, unawares that a player was coming on to him, which I was a little bit surprised about. You know, he's usually is quite aware in those situations. It could have easily just played it back to Onana, and that situation could have been dealt with. Which is why now I'm going to go into the negatives of the game. And, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. Based off last season, our metrics have improved in every segment of the game, whether that's expected goals, possession won in the final third, duels, and, you know, big chances being created. We have improved majorly on those, which may be great for, the board and the backroom staff, because they can see what they're doing. It's being implemented, and, we are improving. But now I'm going to get into the negatives, and the negatives are we simply aren't scoring enough goals and putting our chances away. We aren't being clinical enough. Erik Ten Hag alluded to it in his post-match interview, where he said, the mentality of the team probably wasn't good enough. That mentality starts with him, and he's got to instill that in his players, where they've got to kill the game off. At 1-0, you cannot allow these teams to get back into the game. And we've seen at this club, it can swallow managers whole, whether you're good or not. David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ralph Rangnick, these types of managers, they may not be great at all levels in the game, but they're not poor in any sense of the word. We played some of best football under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We were defensively sound with Jose. Louis van Gaal got us to an FA Cup final, which we won. Yeah, and now Erik Ten Hag finds himself in the same situation where, he's won a Carabao Cup in his first season. He's won an FA Cup in his second season. And now in his third season, he needs to deliver. Yes, we are improving. Yes, you can see we're starting to dominate games. And, if it wasn't for poor decision making in the final third, we may have a few more goals to our name. But, we've seen it. It doesn't matter if you're improving. We need to get points on the board. We need to show something for it. If nothing is shown for it, just like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when he made it to that Europa League final and he didn't win, the next season, the onus was on him to win a Premier League title just because of the signings he's made. Just like Erik Ten Hag's been back now in this summer transfer window. He's made his own signings. He's signed his own players, and now he needs to deliver. And I'm not Erik Ten Hag out, but the pressure is starting to mount on him, and he needs to deal with it now. He needs to be more selfish. If a player is not playing well, it doesn't matter if he's a captain. It doesn't matter if it's Bruno. It doesn't matter who it is. He needs to think for himself. In the dying moments of that game, I could see Ruud van Nistelrooy showing more urgency than he was in that game. And, I know he's a manager, and I know he's more methodical in his thinking and he's tactical, and maybe he doesn't get so aggressive on the sidelines. But with 10 minutes to go at Old Trafford, he needs to be getting at his players and showing that passion, lighting a fire underneath him to show that, you can't just play and stroll through the game in first gear. It needs to be a little bit more urgency from him. And, you could see Ruud van Nistelrooy urging the players to get up the pitch in the final 10 minutes of that game. And, one of the decisions which I thought cost him was not taking Bruno off. I thought in the preview building up to this game that he should have let Bruno rest. He should have rested him for that game. Now he's going to be knackered for the game at the weekend against Spurs. And we know that Bruno is not going to be one of the players to say, I'm tired, I need a rest. He's just not that type of player. But sometimes you need to take the power out of his hands. We've got more than enough players in that team, in that squad, to deal with a team like FC Twente. Erik Ten Hag said it before the game that this is a team that, he loves so much and he doesn't want to hurt. But I didn't see anybody getting hurt in that game. I didn't see anybody, showing any sort of, initiative to get at these FC Twente players. Put a statement out. It's your first game in the Europa League. And, you want to put a statement win out to say that we're going to win this competition. Put a bit of fear into the other teams that you're going to play. After that performance, I don't see anybody being scared of us or being threatened by Manchester United. And I know it's not we're not how we used to be, but there has to come a moment in time where the manager has to think for himself. And I am worried for him because we've seen other managers at this club, get sacked for much less. And, it seems like there's something going on where, you know, he's maybe not unsure, he doesn't trust his players. And we know maybe he can't get mad at these players because a few of them probably are a little bit of a snowflake and they will crumble under the pressure if he does yell at them. But now, you know, going into the weekend against a much better opposition in Tottenham, we have to show a little bit more urgency in the game, and we've got to find that killer instinct in front of goal. Or come end of the season, Erik ten Hag is going to pay for it, which I don't want him to. I'm no way Erik ten Hag out, but he needs to think for himself. That was a Manchester United review for the FCtwente game. Let me know your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you at the next one. See you later, guys.